On today's episode of Club 904, yes, if you are watching live on video, whether that's on YouTube, X, Twitch, wherever it may be, forgot my podcast microphone again. We're rocking with the telemarketer 1980s vibes. But hey, that's because we're taking it not back to the 80s when the Jacksonville Jaguars didn't exist. We're taking it back to the 1990s. The golden age of Jaguars football is here. The Big Cats are 9-4, and they host the lowly Jets this Sunday at Everbank Stadium. How lowly are the Jets? Will Parkinson, friend of the show, of course, of the Turn on the Jets podcast and the Badlands Podcast Network, is going to stop by. Will covers the entire National Football League, has some scouting acumen background, and so therefore we're going to look at the Jaguars and this climb over the last 14 weeks to be in the AFC playoff picture with 4 games still to play. And yeah, we'll probably have a joke or two about my current aesthetic. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, follow our friends at the Action Sports Jacks Network. Let's get after it. Club 904 going up on a Tuesday. What is going on, party people? Mia O'Brien here for another riveting edition of Club 904 on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel. I told you guys Sunday when Brett and I were doing the post-game show, oh yeah, I think I'll be at World Headquarters for Action Sports Jacks, Action News Jacks on Tuesday, and I am indeed. But yeah, forgot to, that part about leaving the microphone at home. But hey, it's all good. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us live wherever you may be watching. And we do want to hit some breaking news before we bring our guest into today's episode. Philip Rivers has officially signed to the Colts practice squad following Daniel Jones's Achilles injury, Riley Leonard fighting a knee injury. Ironically, I guess Riley Leonard worked out with Philip Rivers during the pre-draft process. Did not know that. If Philip Rivers is to be signed to the active roster for Indianapolis, his 5-year, what do we want to call it? The 5-year where like the window of where you are eligible to be a Pro Football Hall of Fame nominee will reset. And he is currently a semifinalist. So there is a chance that Philip Rivers could be a finalist, and then that could be rescinded because the window has to be reopened. Who am I kidding? We want to get this guy in the club. We want to get Will Parkinson's take on this one. Will, let me add you into the view, and there it is. Thanks for joining us. It's great to see your face. Haven't talked to you in a hot minute. Appreciate you hopping on the pod. Philip Rivers in the year of our Lord 2025. What say you, brother man?
Yeah, I would say that the Jets have the Colts' first two first-round picks the next 2 years, and that looks like it was going to be a pick in the mid-20s. Now it might be a pick in the top 15. So things are trending in the right direction.
Hey, and there is the tie-in to the Jaguars' Week 15 opponent, the New York Jets, who, of course, you do a great job covering, and shout out to all the boys at Badlands. I don't know if, like, my tweet this morning with Badlands from Bruce Springsteen, like,
it hit. I was trying to come
you
up
I knew it hit. I think it went over some listeners' heads, but Clay got involved in the conversation. He's got a song request before we play you out of here, and later on in the program. So at least some people got it. I was very disappointed with the Bruce Springsteen acumen of Duval County.
Sometimes it's one of those things people like either get right away or just are so confused. It's always like one or the other. There's no in between.
I've been on a Darkness on the Edge of Town like tear lately, and so as I was listening to the lyrics, it truly does speak to the New York Jets and where they currently sit, but it also speaks to where the Jacksonville Jaguars have been. Before we get to this specific matchup, what the Jaguars can expect from a third-string quarterback who is expected to start for New York. Will, I'm curious, your take up there in the Northeast on the Jaguars' 9-4 start to 2025.
I think from an outside perspective, it feels like the Jaguars are a good team. They're well coached, and they would gladly move off their quarterback if they had the choice. Like that's the
interesting.
Like it feels like Liam Cohen for like the first 8 weeks was like ready to choke Trevor Lawrence out every time they'd flash on red zone. Anytime I'd rewatch Jags game, it was like Brian Thomas or Liam Cohen, one of the two is going to fight Trevor Lawrence before this game's over. But at the same time, outside of the weird Rams game in London, which was kind of surprising to see, like the Rams, they flew over the day before and just, I don't know what happened, transparently, but the Jaguars have been really good. And like, they've generally taken care of business. They've had some games where, it feels like they probably should have won and they ended up winning. But overall, like, they're a good team that's really well coached and they have a ton of talent. And like, if Trevor Lawrence is not turning the football over and not putting themselves in harm's way, like, this AFC is pretty weak. They feel like they can beat anybody. So that's just from the outside point of view. It's not that Trevor's a bad player. It's just like,
Right.
The no trade clause is a top 70 highest paid quarterback. So he's like, is he that? Probably not. But is he good enough for you to make the playoffs and win a playoff game? Absolutely.
And then you see flashes like what he not only had this past Sunday against the Colts, but statistically speaking, 3 of the top 5 EPA per play games of his career
Yeah.
have come against Indianapolis. And that's with 2 different defense coordinators. And while there's some similarities between Lou Anarumo and Gus Bradley's schemes, and it's been noted by
Lou
more than
Anarumo is a little better than Gus Bradley.
Lou Anarumo is a bit better, but it's been noted, Will, by more than one listener to this podcast that it was surprising to see the Colts. I don't want to say vanilla defensive front, but they didn't run any games. They didn't run any twists or stunts. Yeah. It was kind of, we're just going to play you straight up. And that was with a backup left tackle in for the Jaguars. And that was a little surprising to me. And so some people, I think, point to that and say, well, that's why Trevor had success. I'm with you. I think that perhaps, and I don't want to put the cart before the horse, maybe the light bulb has finally clicked when it comes to Liam Cohen's tutelage, Trevor Lawrence letting it rip, and the footwork finally actually meeting the moment with what is going on in his brain. And of course, he started having the play sheet again on his wrist, and that just changed everything.
Yeah, it's funny how the NFL playbooks are so difficult. We always go back to Trevor's just had a weird year, and again, I don't want to harp totally on him. I think objectively, it's their biggest question mark if they make the playoffs,
which is probably a good thing, honestly.
No, it's definitely probably a good thing. I think. Again, it's not that I think he's a bad player in any way, shape, or form. I just look at he just turns the football over too much for my liking in terms of there's these games like a couple weeks ago, it was the 3 picks early in the year. There was the 2 interception game. I think it was week 2. That just has to be under control. He doesn't need to be a 70% completion percentage guy. You want the big plays out of him. You want that splash play. Liam Cohen coming from Tampa Bay. Baker turns the football over too. But I just I'd love to see them be able to get a 17 game, they might get this year, but at least the last 4 or 5 weeks, can they find a way to get all these receivers involved on a consistent basis? Can they get Brian Thomas of 2024 mixed with Jacoby Myers in this run game? And there's a lot there. It almost feels like in some ways they haven't even played their best football.
Yep. We talk about that a lot around here. We talk about that a lot around here.
It feels like it hasn't. We haven't seen a week where it's and maybe I'm wrong, but just from the outside looking in, we haven't seen a week where it's oh my God, this team could win a Super Bowl. It's been a lot of wow, this week the defense was really good. This week the offense looked really good. This guy Jacoby Myers has been great, but our first round receiver from a year ago who was a 1,200 yard, 10 touchdown guy, we were in rumors to trade him 18 months into his contract. What the hell's going on? And we traded up and we don't even have Travis Hunter for the rest of the year. There's just so much there, and it feels like they get in. I feel like there's nobody in the AFC right now that this doesn't just apply to them. This applies to anybody. Right. I think the down Buffalo team, but Buffalo could beat anybody. Outside of, I think if I was betting right now, I'd bet on Houston to win the Super Bowl because that's just so insane that they're going to probably be able to turn Trevor or Drake May or these guys that are really big splash play guys. D'Amico's just had something go. Again, Stroud could get hurt for the 800th time this year and it won't matter.
And even when he has been healthy, their offense.
Yeah, he hasn't. It's been they're kind of built like the 2022 Jets, which is kind of hard to watch because if Zach Wilson just didn't suck, that Jets team, who knows what would happen. But yeah, I like this Jags team. I think they're like I said, they're a good team. They're well coached, and there's no excuse why they shouldn't be a team that is not only in the playoffs but probably wins a playoff game at a minimum.
If you guys have a question for Will, this is a live podcast, so make sure that you hit us up in the chat. Our friend Hef904 on YouTube, Will, is the one who pointed out to me in the Mo Bryan NFL Notebook Patreon channel about the lack of stunts in games run by Lou Anarumo and the Colts.
Yeah, which is weird.
It was very weird, and I don't know if it was because of the rain or something they saw. But Hef also wants to note that didn't Tom Brady win a Super Bowl with 14 interceptions? And I think that is accurate. And I would also argue that Josh Allen won an MVP award last year with quite a few interceptions himself.
Yep. So there's definitely but Trevor has never been a guy in the NFL that's been super safe with the football. We've seen, it's not this isn't a new thing. That's where to me it's not as concerning in some ways. It's I don't know, a couple years ago, his best year where it was 25 touchdowns, 8 picks, but rookie year where people still thought he did good, you can go all the way back to that. Or even last year, he's kind of a guy that 2023 as well. Like he's a guy who's going to finish somewhere between 8 and 15 interceptions
Right.
generally on the year. He's probably good for 2 touchdowns, an interception, 250 yards, and it's a week. And like when this defense is humming and the run game's really good and you have the right weapons, and like this division's very much like whoever wants it right now. And it feels like Jacksonville and Houston are taking it, and Indianapolis is giving it away.
2 more questions for you
And the
before
Titans
we
are the worst team I think I might have ever seen. They're
and
truly
yes.
horrendous.
And that was going up against the Cleveland Browns team that I also don't know what was going on.
Yeah,
Myles Garrett had like a 4%
that felt a
pressure rate.
little sketchy. The 2-point play felt like it was one of those like, we've gotten enough here out of Shedeur today. Like I think we're gonna
He's our quarterback for the rest of the year, but I mean, and our rookie class looks great, and Kevin Stefanski's allegedly coming back, but yeah, I digress.
Their GM's a problem, but that's a conversation.
Hey, listen, in this town, we've got some thoughts. We had a nice stat on Sunday's postgame show about how the Jaguars effectively traded, wait for it, Cam Robinson, Tyson Campbell, and a 7th-round pick. And in return, between trades with the Raiders and the Browns, acquired Jacoby Myers and Greg Newsome. I think that trade's worth it just for Jacoby Myers, which brings me to my next question for you, Will. From a schematic standpoint, what has he brought to Jacksonville? Why have they gone from being a middling success rate team offensively to now, over the last 4 weeks since he was acquired, they're number 6 in offensive success rate in the National Football League?
He is the perfect number 2 receiver. Like he has become like, we talk so much about these teams finding a 1A and a 1B, and I think there is validity to that, right? Like the Rams have very much a 1A and a 1B, and as much as Devontae doesn't want to hear it, he's definitely a 2. But there's those situations, and then there's situations like Seattle where it's really a 1A, like a 1A++, and then a bunch of guys that are probably 3s at this point in their career. And you can make all these different kind of things work. Funny enough, Seattle and I think in Jacksonville are probably more similar than people want to really maybe realize.
Only
just in a
lost
lot
by
of ways,
8
like
of note.
Offense and defensively, like Seattle defensively is unbelievable. They're this year like could not be. I'm not sure they could be any better. And they have a quarterback that like when he's right, they could beat anybody. And when he turns the football over, they get themselves in trouble. No, Myers, I just think really quality, high end number 2 that like does everything right, catches everything. He's pretty much always open in some capacity. And if he's not open, he at least offers you the ability in a 50-50 scenario. Like it could be much, it's not Drake London 80-20 levels, but it's like, it's much more 60-40 than it is 50-50. So, and he was really good in New England. Like I really don't understand why like that regime allowed him to get out of there, because he was a guy that like, I don't know, Jacoby Myers and Diggs right now, if you're on the Patriots, you'd be like, oh, like, and then Kyle Williams is your speed guy with Pop Douglas. Like you'd feel a lot better about the Patriots potentially winning the AFC. So that was a really shrewd move. I thought he was going to get moved back in August. I know a lot of teams checked in on him, and it seems like he wanted to be moved, and the Raiders wanted to move him, but they didn't want to eat, probably wanted more than what they were going to get. They did the same thing they did with Devontae a year ago, where like waited till it got untenable, and then they moved him, and Devontae put up huge numbers with the Jets last year. It didn't work out because of a lot of other things, but same thing with the Jaguars this year, like got out of a bad situation. He's a guy who, if I was them, I'd love to see, probably him back here. I don't know what the specifics would be around what he's going to
20 mil a year is what I heard. Would you pay that?
If I was the Jags, I would try to like do whatever I could to like maybe you make the number a lot higher from a total money perspective, but the actual guarantees are lower. Like try to figure out something where it's like you're really only locked in for 2 more years, but it's like, hey, we gave him 4 for 100, and everyone rolls their eyes, but it's really 2 for 40. Like that would be because then you have Hunter, Thomas, and Myers for 2 more years, and you're like, all right, like Travis is only going to get better. Brian Thomas should be much better in year 3 than he's been in year 2 overall.
And in this new role that he's in, if Jacoby Myers is in this offense and is doing a lot more of the dirty work underneath the in-breaking routes, and certainly Brenton Strange getting hurt, I do think missing 5 games, that also directly correlates to the Brian Thomas Jr. success, which again, another player who historically he goes against the Colts and just, torches them. And I think some of that is going up against a scheme, winning one-on-one off the line of scrimmage. But I also just think that with Jacoby Myers' mere presence, it has allowed for Liam Cohen has his Chris Godwin. And so therefore, Brian Thomas Jr. can take on, I don't even want to say it's a Mike Evans role because Mike Evans is in his own category, but can be more of that vertical field stretcher.
Yeah.
And then can win the occasional slant route
Yeah,
as
listen,
well.
if you let Brian Thomas just run slot fades all day, like, you'll be okay.
Shh, that's all we listen, like, make him feel comfortable, and then we can try to spice it up maybe in year 3. One more selfishly,
Yeah.
Will, and then we'll talk Aaron Glenn because I'm very curious. The title of this podcast on YouTube is The Tale of Two Coaches, because it's 2 first-year coaches on maybe similar but very, very different trajectories at the current juncture. Um, Given your brother, of course, is on the scouting staff at
Yeah.
Oklahoma, but was a part of the Senior Bowl staff this past cycle. And
Yep.
so I'm curious, have you and Charlie talked at all about Danny Strigow and the emergence of edge number 3 for the Jaguars?
Yeah,
And of course, one of the biggest feel-good stories of the Senior Bowl last January.
he's like, "Hey, this is awesome." I think it's funny, like, the Senior Bowl is very, it's one of those things where, like, I think people always go, like, you don't realize how many first-round guys come out of the Senior Bowl, let alone just how many NFL guys. You know, it is cool. Like, I think whether it's the first-round quarterbacks and Herbert and Baker and all these guys go there, or it's guys that are undrafted guys, day 3 guys, like, the quality of talent that comes out of that place every single year, and just, I don't know, to me, watching, I always just, edge rushers are really fun, and they're always guys that I feel like pop the most I would say the edge rushers and the receivers usually pop the most of the Senior Bowl because of the way one-on-ones are set up. Like, it is set up for edge rushers and receivers to win. And if you go in there and you can show off that you're not just, if you're a guy that's a run first guy, that you can show off your ability to win one-on-one, or as a receiver, like, I don't know. So especially these slot guys, right? Like Lad McConkey, you think of Tank Dell guys in recent years that have gone there. So yeah, we've talked a little bit about it. He's been very focused on Alabama, but
Or Oklahoma, excuse me. Oh, well,
yeah,
at Oklahoma on Alabama, yes.
he's very focused on trying to. I would really like to see, from a selfish perspective, not only Oklahoma win, but I want to see what Fernando Mendoza looks like against Brent Venables, because I'm not sure there's 3 people in the world right now who can call defense better than Brent Venables, NFL, college, whatever it is. I know Ohio State's defense is more hyped up, and again, they lived up to pretty
Maybe
much
has greater
more NFL
personnel,
talent.
more
Yeah.
quality
But,
personnel.
like, I don't think Ohio State calls a defense what Brent Venables does. Like, some of the blitzes and just those guys, like, it's like if you're a nerd with defense, like, watch some of those guys tackle is, like, just insane. Like, so yeah, we talked a little bit about it, but he is very, very locked in on making they're home underdogs on a Friday night game in Norman.
It's because of that offense that everybody loved so much with Arbuckle and friends in the first 5 weeks of the season.
29-year-old Ben Arbuckle, sometimes there's some growing pains with a guy who's barely legal enough to drink leading an offense.
Speaking of Fernando Mendoza, great segue. The New York Jets in 2025. Where do we sit? Where do we look at the Jets? Are we talking about those 2 first-round picks they acquired from the Indianapolis Colts in the Sauce Gardner trade? Are we talking Fernando Mendoza? Hope is on the horizon, or what has Aaron Glenn done in year 1 that says to you, no, they could be feisty down the stretch and they could maybe compete in 26?
Yeah, until 2 days ago, I would have told you, like, hey, they're probably going to finish 5-12, 6-11. They're going to potentially beat their win total from last year. After everything that's happened, the putrid quarterback play, a lot of injuries, they trade their 2 franchise, like, all pro level players. And besides Garrett, like, that's probably the most recognizable players on this team to an opposing fan base. They acquired all this capital. They freed up a ton of cap space and cash as well. Like, and I know sometimes people kind of conflate the two. Like, trading those contracts is not just about the cap number. Like, the amount of money that's now not in escrow is pretty significant. And then they get steamrolled by Miami last weekend, and they need, like, there's a talent issue here. It's not just quarterback. The quarterback's obviously a huge part of it. And again, like, you guys, if you see Brady Cook on Sunday, like, and he's a UDFA player who's literally came in cold out of nowhere. It's his first time ever dressing in an NFL game, like, second time dressing. I understand it, but, like, it's bad.
It's Badlands right now.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Listen, it would have been interesting to see what the Jets with Tyrod and potentially, I think I don't think Garrett's going to play in this game, but if Garrett had come back, it would have been interesting just as, like, hey, could they test him a little bit? Garrett had a great game he's had great games against him in the past. Tyrod's willing to throw it up a little bit, and if he turns it over twice, he turns it over twice, but he's whatever. this is going to be like heavy run game, a lot of throws under 10 yards. But the Jets defense is right now, obviously they traded all their talent on defense, generally speaking, and the talent they have remaining from the Saleh era, specifically linebackers, are a huge issue. Jermaine, Will McDonald, Quincy Williams, and Jamien Sherwood are their 4 names, and all guys are either first-round picks or are getting paid at the moment. All solid guys, and Douglas, like draft picks and things like that. McDonald's had 2 huge games, which have accounted for 6 of his 7 sacks.
We've heard that down here a time or two when it comes to our one of our former first round edge rushers.
Jermaine looked better early on, then got hurt. He came back for the Denver game in week 5 in London, was really good. And it was wow, like, all right, he's back from the Achilles, and he's had 1 sack since then. And like, I can't tell you another time he's hit the quarterback. Like, he obviously has, but like, there's not a single time that you remember in those last, I guess, 7-8 weeks. And Quincy Williams came back again, same thing, like came back against Cleveland after being benched and injured and was amazing. I'm like, oh, there's all pro Quincy. This is awesome. He's been pretty bad since. And Jamien Sherwood's been probably the worst signing for the Jets the last 3 or 4 years. Like, he is. I'm telling you, if you go back and watch that game, you could watch it 100 times, and I don't think you'd find either linebacker involved in a run play. It was unbelievable. Like, I don't know what's going on.
So if you're the Jags, you're running the ball. You're saying to Trevor,
the Jags run play action the entire game and run the football with any type of misdirection, the Jets take the cheese every single time, and a tight end will be running open every single time. And then someone will be pointing, and like there'll be a bad. Steve Wilkes is going to get fired. The process was right for the Jets, similar to Justin Fields, limited options. The Jets didn't want to go into this year with 0 quarterbacks. Like, you had to take a shot on somebody. Fields had an okay year last year in Pittsburgh. You could bet on the upside of, hey, he was a top 15 pick once upon a time. Like, one more shot. Let's see what happens. If not, we'll pick a quarterback. Same thing with defensive coordinator. Usually staffs, I think, early on they took really young guys in Engstrand, who's their offensive coordinator from Detroit, and Chris Banjo, he literally is running the best special teams unit in the history of the NFL by DVOA standards at the moment. Chris Banjo retired 18 months ago. He's never been a coordinator. So the Jets went 2 young guys, so they won a veteran. I think a lot of people felt like Wilkes got kind of screwed over in a sense in obviously in Arizona back in the day when everyone remembers. And then I think a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people felt like, hey, 1 year in San Francisco, they make it to the Super Bowl. If Greenlaw doesn't tear his Achilles jumping around the sideline, like, they probably win that game and he doesn't get fired. And it was a worthwhile bet. But when I tell you, like, their third down stuff, they're going to play man. Someone's going to blitz, whether it's their slot corner or a linebacker. And it's just, they're going to rush 5 and everyone's going to play man. And like, no one's going to know what's going on. It's very difficult to stomach because like, this is a team that 2 years ago was a top 3 defense in the NFL. And I think Jags fans would probably appreciate like the Jalen Ramsey era Jags, where like they went from this elite defense to all of a sudden it was just like, oh my God, they're horrible. This is kind of what's unfortunately happened in the course of 24 months.
So therefore, one of the questions from one of our listeners, is it more cover 2 or cover 4? I think the answer is ask the players and you may get a different response from all 11 on the field, even on the same exact play. Is that what I'm interpreting, Will?
They've played more zone of late. But they've done a lot of cover 1 and a lot of cover 0 where it's just like every man for themselves. Yeah. And it's like, it's funny because both at one point, I would say probably around, I guess it was around the Denver game, I guess Sauce was still there, obviously, but Brandon Stevens has played much better. He was a much maligned signing, and he's had a much better year than I think anyone would have expected. He's probably, though, ideally at number 2. Jarvis Brownlee, who they acquired from Tennessee, was crazy that Tennessee was willing to trade him. He was unbelievable the first 2 weeks, then had 2 rough weeks where he had to play outside corner because of injuries. He's out for the year now, so you won't see him. And then Azareye'h Thomas has been awesome, a Florida guy and, from Florida State, and he's been fantastic, but he's a 20-year-old rookie, and, he got his first NFL start, and Jamien Sherwood friendly fire knocks him unconscious on a crossing route. So, like, it's just been one of those years where the really good players haven't played well. The young guys are still so young that it's really difficult to ask them to be able to go out and just win games on their own. And they don't have a good quarterback play, which is equated in like some weeks they look pretty decent. We've seen it against the AFC North. For some reason, the Jets have played probably 4 of their 6 best games of the year, which is, in hindsight, you'd think is their hardest games. But obviously this year it's not been a great year for the division. Point being, like, there's a world in which the Jets are spunky in this game, and they've done what they did the previous 5 weeks, where, like, they keep it competitive. They're going to score on specials. They'll, be able to run the ball enough to keep it close, and anything can happen. Other teams could lose the game. Atlanta lost the game, similar to Cleveland. But there's also the possibility, it looks like last week, where they're one of the 4 or 5 worst rosters in the league, mostly on purpose. And the Jags are just better, and it's 24-7 in the third quarter, and it kind of just like we kind of run and clock this thing to 34-10 again. So that we're gonna have very polar opposites of what happens on Sunday. It's one or the other. It's not going to be 20-10 and it's like a good game the whole way. It's either going to be a blowout or it's going to be a game where it's like, oh man, the Jags have the ball with 4 minutes left and they're down 3. Like, that's where we're looking at.
Yeah. One more for you, Will, before we kind of, go big picture here, for this matchup in particular, although you think you did a great job of kind of summing it up right there. Aaron Glenn, first few weeks of the year, this whole, you're going to have to ask Rich Cimini about Justin Fields' status, not giving injury updates, which, hey, listen, here in Jacksonville, it's also being kept close to the vest, maybe not to the extent that Aaron Glenn is proclaiming on the podium in New York, or in Florham Park, I should say. So in terms of trajectory, in terms of buy-in from the roster right now, where would you assess Aaron Glenn's position?
Oh, he's got full buy-in. He is
okay.
They're still playing super hard. There was one drive last week at the end of the game that I feel like the defense quit a little bit, but that to me is not an indication of Glenn. And Glenn took the brunt of the criticism. Like, he's gotten much better, I would say, throughout the year. Like, the Denver game was probably where it all really, in London, everyone got to see like the end of the half, and it was ugly. But it's, again, a guy in his first year. They don't trust the quarterback to complete a pass, to let alone to even throw a pass. Like, there was so much bad that was going on that sometimes it's hard to kind of rein it in. And I feel like after the bye week, they reined it in. He's got full buy-in. This roster, it's the youngest roster in the league. I think the biggest thing that happened this year was they traded Sauce and Quinnen, and they went out and won 2 or 3. And it was like, oh, okay, like, see, this guy's not crazy. Like, his message means something. And I think with young players, you got to give them something to believe in, and he's done that. He's gotten better with 4th down stuff. He's I think top 5 in the league, and like not only going for it but being right, and in terms of win percentage he added. He passed it, down 8 going for 2 test, and Jets ended up winning by 1 point, in Cincinnati because of it. So like, he's done some really nice things. Now again, Steve Wilkes' defense had some weeks where it's decent, but it's generally been pretty poor, especially against any type of like higher quality OC. Against some of the guys that are maybe the more middling play callers, they're middling quarterbacks. It's not been too big of an issue, but McDaniel, both McDaniels really have done a really good job. And you would assume Liam Cohen's going to be able to scheme up enough to put them in a good situation. So I think everyone's got the roster's very bought in on Glenn. It's just, this is year 0 for them. Like, they've made it quite clear that in a lot of ways this year, like, they get a pass for the whole year, and they're going to have to, they've got $150 million cap space. They've got a gazillion picks. What they do with that is going to determine whether Glenn gets 27 and 28 and 29. But for right now, he's in a good situation where, like, everyone knows the roster is bad. So generally everyone's okay with it. I would say the fans are more angry than anybody else.
But more apathy, probably, I would say, than anger.
Yeah. And unfortunately, he came to a situation where they haven't made the playoffs in 15 years. And not only that, but the last 2 years, there were Super Bowl expectations with Rodgers here. And it was a good team in 22 that, and Rodgers tears the Achilles. So, like, the mixture of that is, like, Aaron Glenn's, like, brand new boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, that is amazing, or could be amazing potentially. But your ex is so bad that, like, it's like, that's what it kind of looks like.
You're still just not in, you're not in a good place.
The worst immediately, which is unfortunately what's kind of happening with the fan base right now.
That's okay. That happens here in Jacksonville too. Everyone was like, "I'm not ready to christen Liam Cohen yet. I'm not ready. I'm not ready." And
Like, yeah,
Belichick
you're 9-4. I think it'll be okay.
week 14. I think we're in the clear. I think he's a pretty good football coach. Will, let's close with this. Put your scouting hat on. We
Yeah.
love here in Jacksonville that we are not having to talk about the draft in December. You are very much in the throes of the
Oh, yeah.
draft prep up there in good old Long Island, Jersey, New York, and the good old tri-state area.
Yeah.
So tell me this: with the Jets' 2 first-round picks, who are they picking with that $150 million in cap space? What
Ooh.
are the primary needs? And then on the other side, if you're Jacksonville, they do not have a first round pick. They do
Yep.
have a second and 3 threes. What holes do you see right now in this roster that maybe can't be fixed by Sunday? But if the Jaguars do X, that's where you see them taking it to an even higher step in
Yeah.
2026.
I'll start with the Jags. I would say, like, it's kind of a vanilla answer, but I would continue to add in this offensive line. I just would. You can never go wrong with adding, especially interior offensive line on day 2, where like
Mhm.
those guys can play center or guard, and like just building depth there. And again, you hope those young guys take the spots of some veterans in a lot of ways. And like the way they get the best out of Trevor in this offense is just making sure that he's going to have a wall in front of him at all costs. Um, I would also continue to add it potentially a linebacker. Like if they lose Devin Lloyd, they lose Devin Lloyd, right? Like you're going to have to replace him. This is a good linebacker class. They're going to have an opportunity to move there. And again, I just think in the secondary as well, Jacksonville, like you feel like even when you feel your best, the Jets 2 years ago, their secondary felt like it was an elite unit, and guys get hurt and all of a sudden, boom, like you're a terrible unit. So I would just, especially in day 2, like safety, linebacker, interior offensive line are spots where even if you feel good about it, I don't know, Devin Lloyd leaves, like you have a huge hole at linebacker,
So
right?
you
And
would
like,
re-sign Devin Lloyd if they were just
I
doing this on
would,
the
yeah, I
previous
would.
show. They
I
were
just am
trying to
nervous. What's he
power
going to
rank it.
cost? Because
Yeah.
the last couple of years, going into the year, I feel like everyone's like, please get this dude out of here. At least from like reading Jack's
Yes.
Twitter at times.
Oh, they were.
And
They were
and
trying to
then
ship him
now
off.
it's like he's getting Fred Warner money. So there's got to be somewhere in between. But I don't think you want to mess up. He was a first round player for a reason. Like I think everyone was hoping he was going to be this guy. It took a lot longer than maybe people wanted it to, but if you got
Hey,
a
it
good
took
thing,
Trevor 5 years, so
yeah, if you
I
got a great
mean,
thing and he fits your scheme, like, and he's a homegrown guy, you retain him. It's like if they were changing schemes, maybe I'd say let him walk and get the comp pick. But no, I think he's a guy you like to bring back because there's just, I don't know, who are you going to go out and replace him with, right? You're going to go draft somebody. It's just,
Jack
you can
Kaiser
draft
waiting in
somebody
the
anyways
wings, not
on
so
top of
much.
it. No.
Yeah, no, Jack Kaiser, Ventrell Miller, good players,
I
good
like
special
Jack
teams
Kaiser a
value.
lot. I like Jack Kaiser a lot as like a depth guy. I don't necessarily love him as
He's not Devin Lloyd.
No, he's not. From a Jets perspective, I would say like the biggest need is obviously quarterback. If they don't go quarterback, edge rusher is a huge need, unfortunately. I think linebacker is a glaring need. And, they need another receiver. Like they need another alpha because we talk about what Jacoby Myers has added to a room with Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter. Like that's a lot better than, as much as I like this story around AD Mitchell. I like what John Mechie's been able to provide in terms of getting open. Those guys ideally are 3s and 4s. They don't have this. Someone's doubling Garrett, and I can for sure count on player X to be open and available 17 weeks a year and be consistent in terms of catching the football. That's 80. AD Mitchell is not consistent enough right now, and that's okay. Like he's super talented, but Carnell Tate, Mekhi Lemon, maybe Jordan Tyson. I'm a little worried if MetLife Turf meets Jordan Tyson, who's injured all the time, scares the crap out of me. But he's super physically gifted, and he could be a name. But yeah, that
The chat wants you to consider Arvell Reese with the
Arvell Reese and Mekhi Lemon's kind of like the dream non-quarterback draft.
I was going to say non-quarterback though. Where do you?
Non-quarterback, it's like
Yeah.
we get a weapon on defense. He can be a pass rusher and play off-ball linebacker. We get an elite prospect in Mekhi. I think Mekhi Lemon's the best receiver in the country. I think he's Jeremiah Smith's obviously a better prospect. I'm not in any way saying that. And like
better than Carnell Tate though.
Yeah, Mekhi Lemon, like if you watch it, he does everything really well. And he's a top 5 football player in the country. I'm not saying he's the best. Like he's not 6'4". He's not going to be a 4'2" guy. But like, I don't know. Everyone said the same things about Amon-Ra St. Brown and Mekhi Lemon. And Amon-Ra is the guy who's the fastest guy ever, 500 catches. He's an all-pro every year. Like the Detroit culture is built around a lot of what he is. If you look at those Lions drafts, the first year they took a right tackle and Penei Sewell. Year 2, they went Hutchinson. And then year 3, they went with the Gibbs, Campbell, I think
Laporta
Laporta
and
and
Brian
Brian
Branch.
Branch draft.
Yeah.
And Kirby Joseph, I guess, was the year before, but they had these stacked drafts. But the Jets took their right tackle last year. So does this the year they go edge rusher? And you got to get an answer at quarterback. I don't know who that is. I don't know if it's Tanner McKee and Mac Jones. Like, do they go that route? Do they go, I don't know, does Jordan Mailata come out or Jaden Mailata come out and he's like the end of the round 1 Jackson Dart type pick from a year ago? I would not trade more than 2 top 50 picks to move up for Mendoza. I don't know. I struggle with that. This is going to sound very old school, Bill Polian football, whatever. I'm a little worried about the personality fit in New York. It's really tough here. It is. We've seen it. Guys, Zach Wilson and Justin Fields say nothing. They don't speak. They don't have social media. They do nothing, and they get crushed.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold, same thing. You get Rodgers, who is nonstop, and when you're winning, everyone loves you, right? And the Jets were 2-1 last year, and Rodgers threw for 303 touchdowns on Thursday Night Football against the Patriots, and it was like, this is it. And then the next week he pulls his calf, and the season basically ended. Like, the point being, he's a great kid, and it's nothing like personal. I just really worry of they start 0-3 next year, Mia. Is the I'm so flipping excited thing, is that gonna fly? It might fly in a different market. I just worry.
In Jacksonville, it'd be endearing. He would be like a Gardner Minshew.
I don't know if it's endearing in New York.
No.
I don't know.
As someone who grew up there, no, it's not.
No, Judge, Brunson. I go through the superstars in New York right now, the guys that have figured it out, right? Judge, Stanton, Cole. Cole's quirky, but he doesn't speak. So and he's a pitcher, so it doesn't really matter. Dart's very flashy, so it works right now. But I'm telling you, we saw with Odell, if the Jackson Dart keeps getting hurt, people are going to turn on him really quick. That's just the way it works here. So Dante Moore probably fits the market better. Though, unfortunately, the problem is that Dante Moore's got 12 college starts, which means the Jets still don't have an answer for 26.
He also may not come out.
He might not come out. Ty Simpson's a great kid. I think he fits this market perfectly. But again, it's a guy with 14, 15 starts. Where are you taking him? In round 1? Because 6 weeks ago, I would have said Ty Simpson's a perfect fit here. Now, he's played pretty bad football for 4 or 5 weeks now. So, they've got a lot of, I don't know. And it's the veteran. If you go the veteran route, who are you trading for? Stroud?
No, you're honestly Davis Mills. You're trading for Davis Mills or Mac Jones.
Right. At that point, then you're giving up premium draft capital for a guy that you're hoping you could best case go 8-9 with. That's not I don't know.
And a bridge quarterback at that, because then you're still going to be drafting a quarterback.
Right. So it's the guys that would be available, you'd think potentially, because they either haven't gotten paid or their teams want to move off. Do you really want to give the Bengals 5 first-round picks for Joe Burrow? As much as it sounds great, aren't you just the Bengals then? The Jets aren't good enough right now to just sell the farm for a quarterback. And if you look at a guy like Stroud or Hurts that are either gotten paid or you think their team would potentially move off of for the right price, CJ Stroud's concussed all the time. And I don't think he's been anywhere near as good as he was as a rookie. Jalen Hurts last night was Sam Darnold on Monday Night Football level bad. And he's a $97 million cap hit in 27. You're in a bad spot. Even earlier in the year when the Jags kind of were early in the year, it's what about did the Trevor thing happen? Trevor has a full no trade clause, and I don't. Why is he waiving it to go leave South Florida to go North Florida, whatever, to go play for the Jets?
Florida with no state income tax to go live in Morris County. Hell no.
Baker, why would the Bucs move Baker? You know what I mean? There's just, when you start going through it, the draft is probably the most realistic option for a long-term answer.
Matt in the chat just asked about Carson Beck, which means it's our time to go. Because
if you want to do the Joey Aguilar, Carson Wentz thing on day 3, let's go for it.
Hey, pair him with Mac Jones, have a little Duval County reunion up there in Florham Park. Let's have some fun with it.
I think I might be out on the Carson Beck in round 5. If you want to bring him in as a guy who could be a potential long-term backup, sure, I totally understand, but I worry a lot about, again, they had a bad loss this year, and he could not wait to blame his receivers publicly. Zach Wilson did that once and got literally benched, and because he, whatever. My point being, the Jets have done a really bad job recently of evaluating quarterbacks' love of football mixed with the right personality here. Again, talent's all that, in a lot of ways, all that matters, and Jags fans went through a lot of quarterbacks too. It happens. If you don't get the right guy in the locker room, it does not matter. We have seen 8,000 examples of guys who you got to want it really bad, and like you got to be obsessed with this. And I don't know that I think Carson Beck's obsessed with the things that quarterback brings him, including like the TikTok models that like it brings him. I'm not so sure he's obsessed with like every like 6 a.m. on a Tuesday morning watching film. I don't know that's true or false.
Right.
It just gives the impression off of like everything around him he likes, and it's like, will he die on the, obviously not actually, but like, are you willing to die in the field? I sometimes, I just don't know.
But now that he's in the day 3 range, like,
then no, it's fine. Like again, like I like Joey Aguilar as like your long-term backup in round 5, but he's also 30 years old. Like he's
older than both of us. I'm just kidding. Will, we got to take a break, but we appreciate you stopping by. I asked you for 20 minutes. You stayed for double that, which is not a surprise.
Just here to help,
And also, I did notice. Well, first and foremost, I appreciate you did not make fun of.
I did this on purpose. Obviously.
I figured, yes, of course you did, but it's all right. Who won the Cortica Jug?
Yeah, I know.
Where do the jugs?
We had a rough. We changed coaches. We lost our coach, and unfortunately, we really weird year. They started off, they got steamrolled, and then they rattled off 10 in a row, and it looked awesome, and then blew it against Cortica, and then got steamrolled in the playoff. I was like, oh, this is
not Cortland football. This is like a little bit of
we were in a roll there. We were like number 1 seed, won the national championship, then 1 seed again. Got to get back to running the football like real, like adults. And
although the wide receiver factory rivals that of Ohio State, and now it's time for me to go before I hit some more hyperbole to Division III football. Will, appreciate you. Where can listeners find your work and the great stuff you guys are doing with Badlands?
Yeah. Badlands or Turn on the Jets, wherever you get your podcasts. It's a lot of stuff we'll say it's through Patreon. You can listen for my stuff for free on any of your any apps. Will PA11 on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, the whole thing, YouTube, wherever you find your stuff. But yeah, that's the main stuff. A lot of Jets, but a lot of really like in-depth NFL draft stuff that do a huge like 300-page draft guide with full reports.
Hey, listen, I'm going to need a primer come February because
you'll get. We'll send you one over. You can
typically, November I'm already in the weeds, but I'm gonna need it.
Right now, hopefully
whenever this ride ends.
Not until March. Just take a couple weeks off after a Super Bowl win, get hammered at a parade, and then get her into the draft.
Boat parade, baby. All right, I send you off with this, Will. Hopefully my lovely headset can pick it up. This is courtesy of listener Clay, because this is his memo to the Jags heading into this matchup with the Jets.
I hear it. Hell yeah.
Run the ball. Please run the ball.
Run the dang ball, Bert.
Run the dang ball, Liam Cohen. Because Lord knows.
Don't abandon the run. You will win the football
game.
Steve
Wilkes' defense doesn't know which way.
No, just run the ball. I promise it'll work. Run counter every play. It'll work.
Well, we appreciate it. I will catch you later, my friend.
Thank you.
There he goes, the one and only Will Parkinson, Turn on the Jets, Badlands. He went like 43 minutes, so we have to take a break because we got talent talks on the other side here on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel. When we return, speaking of the offensive line, speaking of the run game, got some numbers I want to run through, courtesy of the data bank Dan Griffiths, as well as some numbers scooped by yours truly. Stick around, more Club 904 coming up right after that.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers. And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
Most of us know how to throw. But you need to know what to throw. I'm not talking about footballs, baseballs, softballs. We're talking about those items you need to recycle. Republic Services explains it easy. Recycling simplified. 1. Know what to throw. When in doubt, throw it out. 2. Empty clean, and dry those materials. It takes an extra minute, but it makes a big difference. And 3, don't bag it. This makes the recycling process faster and more efficient. This is a look at the Republic Services North Florida Recycling Center. You can make this process even more efficient. By utilizing those 3 steps, Republic Services can help you become a better recycler in your home. Learn more at recyclingsimplified.com.
If you look good, you feel good. And the medical professionals here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics are here to make you feel your best. I'm on camera every week, and I have a confession to make. I'm not always confident in my appearance. Can you see my dark circles? Is my makeup highlighting my fine lines instead of covering them up? I question it all. So when I found out about the wide variety of procedures here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics, I knew help was just one appointment away. Medical Director Dr. Megan Deacon Casey and her board-certified physicians have been using the latest in cutting-edge technology for the last 10 years, giving men and women their personal confidence boost. From Botox, fillers, Morpheus 8, and so much more. The hardest part was figuring out what I needed. Thankfully, the medical team walked me through what would work best for me through a free consultation. Come look and feel your best with the team here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Visit them at one of their 2 locations, either over in Ponte Vedra or on the south side.
Welcome back into a Tuesday edition of Club 904. Our thanks again to Will Parkinson for not only not judging my backup podcast microphone, aka the telemarketer headset, but also for hanging out with us for 40 plus minutes. A lot of great talk. If you did want a little sampling of the draft, because we're not talking draft here in December of 2025 in Jacksonville, FLA, which is a beautiful thing. But if you just, wanted a little something to wet your whistle, go back, listen to that one on demand, because Will dropped a lot of good names. His analysis on some of those quarterbacks, including some day 3 backup type guys that I think would definitely be worth your while. All right, we got a lot to do to go around the National Football League before we get on out of here and make way for Talent Talks, your official UNF Athletics feature program here on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel. So without further ado, let's get after it. Let's begin with this one from Ben Solak of ESPN. He made the Jags his second take, not first take, the popular ESPN program, second take upon second view of the Jags, because a couple of weeks ago he still had questions. But as he and so many around the National Football League have taken note, while yes, it's come against the Raiders, the Texans, the Chargers, the Cardinals, the Titans, and the Colts since their bye week, not exactly a murderer's row, although the Texans and Chargers are currently in the playoff picture, and a lot of people expected the Cardinals to be, and the Colts, well, they played in Jacksonville. I don't need to say anything else. The Jags are 5-1 since their bye, as Ben writes. In the 6-game stretch, the Jaguars offense, 6th in success rate since the bye, 5th in points per drive, 13th in EPA per play. The defense is 13th in success rate, 7th in points per drive, and 7th in EPA per play. As Ben writes, quite simply, they have been good. Embrace it, folks. The Jaguars, a good football team. And as our friend Dan Griffiths writes, and actually, you know what? Let's save that deep ball stat because we're going to get to that here in just a second. The quarterback, as Dan, the data bank here on Action News Jacks and Action Sports Jacks wrote on actionnewsjacks.com, the quarterback success rate equally as impressive. This last 4-week stretch, Trevor Lawrence is second in the National Football League in success rate, trailing only Matthew Stafford, a 57% success rate. Trevor Lawrence, 54.2%. Dak Prescott at 53%. And just to add some context, which is why you follow Dan at Dan D. Griffiths and you read his stuff at Action News Jacks, a play is considered a success if it gains 40% of the needed yards on first down, 60% on second down, and 100% on third or fourth down. So those are pretty good efficiency numbers from 16 comparatively to where he was a little bit earlier in the season. And now to the deep ball numbers. And this is something that I personally asked Dan to evaluate because the Jacoby Myers of it all. This idea of someone who had never caught a pass for more than 50 yards in a single catch and run opportunity, and yet he has opened up this offense. It has created vertical opportunities, not just for Brian Thomas Jr. on go balls and slot fades down the sideline, but also for Brenton Strange to get up the seam and not just be this underneath safety valve for the quarterback. It's been really impressive to see. And so you see, again, in terms of the deep ball, the actual attempt percentage of the offensive game plan, 16.7% of all attempts are going deep for Trevor Lawrence, Liam Cohen, and this offense. In terms of completions, the Jaguars are tied for first in deep ball percentage over the last 4 weeks of the NFL season, a 45.5% completion percentage on said routes and said completions. And ultimately, that was what Trevor Lawrence was known for coming out of Clemson, this ability to complete the deep ball, especially on go balls where he had the luxury of having Justin Ross and T. Higgins. And I think that it is okay, and you just heard Will say this too, it is okay if Brian Thomas Jr. never is a 1A wide receiver in Jacksonville, if he is 1B. And Travis Hunter, if Jacoby Myers is to be re-signed long-term, gets to kind of be the 2-3, do his own thing while also playing cornerback over the next 2 to however many years if Jacoby Myers is re-signed. While he comes along, he learns behind Myers, and then he becomes that player, while Brian Thomas Jr. continues to be the deep ball threat that we saw in 2024, and that led to that 1,200-plus yard, 10-touchdown grab season. Again, through week 14, ultimately, this is a Jaguars team that is 9-4. They have 9 wins for the third time in Trevor Lawrence's 5 seasons in Jacksonville. Up to this point, since 2010, the Jaguars won 9 games just once, back in 2017. They are averaging 30.3 points since the bye. 12 touchdowns for Trevor since the bye week as well. That is tied for third in the National Football League. I do want to hit a little bit on the defense here. You see some of the stats from Dan, but first I do want to hit some pressure numbers, the offensive line play from this past weekend's matchup with the Indianapolis Colts. And I'm going to start on the offensive side, and then we'll work our way back to the defense. I had some folks reach out, including listeners of this pod, questions about Anton Harrison in the run game. Gave up 3 pressures in pass protection. I bring to you my notebook. We open it up with some PFF numbers. The Jaguars' top-rated run-blocking offensive lineman is Cole Van Lanen, which probably doesn't surprise a lot of you. He is also number 2 in the Jaguars' O-line room in pass blocking. Cole, 77.8 PFF grade in zone, 64.1 in gap. This is where it gets interesting. Robert Hainsey actually is the last of the 5 starters. If you want to include Cole Van Lanen, we'll say 6. He is last. He is 9th on the team in pass block win rate, according to PFF, at 50.8. However, he's number 2 in run blocking efficiency. And ultimately, that's not a surprise. He's your center. You brought him in to set that nasty tone. Anton Harrison and Walker Little are tied in run grade, according to PFF, at 66.3. Harrison has played 1 less game. Here's where it's interesting, though. When you actually look the difference between the zone running scheme and the gap zones and the gap scheme, Anton Harrison, 65.6 in zone, 50.4 in gap. Walker Little, 70.2 in zone, 67.5 in gap. Don't ask me how then they both average out to 66.3. I'm assuming it's just because of less snaps for Harrison. The point is that I do think, and we have noted this multiple times on this program, the Jaguars' rushing success rate has largely come running behind the left side of the line. Maybe, and I may do a deeper dive on this for Thursday's program because we do have to hand it off to Talon Talks here momentarily. Maybe we're seeing a shift. And not just because Ezra Cleveland is banged up, but maybe the Jaguars are saying, all right, well, Cole Van Lanen's playing right guard this week because Patrick McCarry's in the concussion protocol. We're going to run behind him. Oh, wait, now we can't run off to the right because McCarry is back and he has a run block win rate of 55.8, which is last on the team. And then Anton's next to him and Anton struggles in run block. It's something that I'm going to stick a pin in for now, again, just because our time is limited. We do have to make way for the UNF crew. But it is something to note moving forward. Josh Hines-Allen with 5 pressures on the other side of the ball for the Jaguars, a host with 2 and 1 pressures apiece in that victory over the Indianapolis Colts. And as Ben Solak writes, it's impressive that the Jaguars are 7th in the league in pressure rate at 39.4% since week 10, with Trayvon Walker and Eric Armstead both missing time. And it'll be curious to see in terms of the design pressure packages versus playing it straight up like the Indianapolis Colts did and just going mano-a-mano, letting your athletes win, what the approach is from Campanelli moving forward, including this weekend against the New York Jets. No, I'm not Will Parkinson. I'm Mia O'Brien. It's going to be interesting to see for all the reasons that Will outline. And one major one that we didn't even really touch on, the Jets may be starting a backup quarterback who wasn't even on the active roster 3 weeks ago. Although the Indianapolis Colts could tell you a thing or two about that. In case you missed it, they have signed Phillip Rivers to their practice squad with the potential for him to be elevated to the active roster. I see a bunch of you guys with questions. My apologies. I will save them. I will get you your questions answered on Thursday's show. Jake Asman, also up in New York. He works for ESPN Radio, does a great job covering the Jets at the Jake Asman Show online. He's going to join us on Thursday. I will tape that ahead of time, but we will leave some room for some lengthy Q&A, answer all your questions heading into this Week 15 matchup against the New York Jets. Until Thursday, we appreciate you hanging out with us. Make sure you check out the Mo Bryan NFL Notebook if you haven't already. That's where I write all my notebooks, some video reports, behind-the-scenes videos, as well as live Q&As you can't get anywhere else. And make sure you subscribe and follow our friends at the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel. That is where Talon Talks is coming at you next here on Action Sports Jacks on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, X, wherever you follow along. The .2 channel, the .com work just as fine. Until Thursday, we will catch you later.